Good morning, traders. So, how to trade Bitcoin and Ethereum today? Now, I am still sitting long on both, but yeah, I am sitting long with my finger pretty much on the closeout button at this stage because we are not really getting much traction. And at the same time, there are a few worrying little patterns that are forming, and I think we'll start off with Bitcoin and show you what I mean here. Okay, so we pretty much have a potential rising wedge forming. Okay, now that is a consolidation pattern before we move to the downside. You can see here was another one. Okay, and I highlighted this yesterday. So I think let's just get down to the 4 hour. Okay, so my entry is pretty much down the bottom here. My stops are currently sitting behind this fractal here. Okay, so let's just draw that in. So my stops are sitting here, and my entry was pretty much on the break of this fractal and the pullback. Okay, so come and test this break, which was, to me, was a great entry. So we currently are in profit, which is always a good thing, and I'm still not in a position to move my stop up to entry. And the reason for that is that we have not broken a fractal to the upside. So I would be looking for a break of this fractal here to the upside. Okay, and which hasn't materialized yet. So for now, I'm still fairly bullish. I would suspect we're going to get some kind of profit taking or some kind of ambush step in when we hit the top of the 4 hour cloud, if we hit the top of the 4 hour cloud. So I'm kind of watching this with interest. The positive part of this is that we have a lot of big green candles. So we tend to rally and then slowly fall off, then rally and slowly fall off. And we are, for all intents and purposes, creating new highs and we're creating higher lows. So trading up, the only concern I have is that we do have a potential rising wedge forming. Okay. So I think if we just delete that line there and just tidy it up so we've got it a lot tighter, you'll see this is the trend line that we're following. Okay, so for me, I'm going to be watching this pretty carefully. If we do break above this fractal level here, I'll be able to move my stop up to below this fractal, which will pretty much put me almost at break even, minus the swaps. So it's still a fairly good trade. The risk to reward is still pretty good. And if I delete this line, you can see that we could be forming a cup and handle here. Okay, so here's your cup to this level, and then here's your handle. Okay, the fact that we've got sellers stepping in at this level does indicate that this is a pretty important level, and it's something that if it does break, we can expect some move, a bit more of a stronger move to the upside. Okay, so for me at the moment, I'm still sitting long. I'm quite happy with it. I think we are on day 4 of holding the longs. It's been a pretty slow hold on this one, but what we're really looking for a break above this cloud. If we can just get to the hour before we move on to Ethereum, you'll see that from an hour perspective, if we look at Ichimoku, we are breaking above, using the cloud as resistance, using a cloud of resistance. So you kind of would expect something similar to come and use the top of the cloud of resistance and move to the upside. Or I would prefer us to break. And you can also see how the 200 1-hour EMA is offering resistance. You can see there's resistance. So clearly when we break this, we should break, rally a bit, come back and test the break a couple of times before moving to the upside. So I'm quite happy with that entry at the moment. If we move on to Ethereum, similar picture forming. So you can see we have this pretty much another rising wedge forming. Okay. So also extremely bearish. Okay, a break to the downside actually will target this bottom here. Let's just work it out. So basically, we move to the downside, we're consolidating up, and if we break that trend line to the downside, then that becomes a target there. Okay, which is pretty much the big level that we have. As it gets the 4 hour. Okay, so the 4 hour picture here is slightly different to Bitcoin. Although we do have a rising wedge, we have broken through the cloud, and you can see Dickinson and Keeganson are pointing to the upside, and we've got Chico Span that's broken through price. So everything here is pointing to a bullish view. Okay, now a similar picture here. My entries were on the break of this fractional level here. Okay, and my stop is currently sitting in at pretty much break even, just below here. Okay, and what I'm looking for is to move my stop up to this level, but I can only really move it until once I've got confirmation that this fractional level has broken. Okay, so once this fractional level is broken, I take my stop and I'll move it up to there, which will lock in profit, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, but for now, apart from this rising wedge that's forming, it is still pretty bullish, and we're also starting to get a twist here as well. If we just come down to the 1 hour, and you'll see a pretty similar picture to Bitcoin, is that we're using the cloud as support and moving up. Now, in a strong trend, we would be using Dickinson, the blue line, as support, but this is clearly not a strong trend. It's a pretty weak trend. So if we do start breaking below this trend line, I'll more than likely close out my trades. But for now, we will stay in the trade and just watch it quite carefully. What I do see here is an inverted head and shoulder. So there's a shoulder, there's a head, and there's a right shoulder. And the neckline would be that level there, pretty much where price is right now. Okay, so I'm still long, and I'm pretty confident. Well, let's not say confident. I think the term would more likely be hopeful that this wedge doesn't play out. So for me right now, it's kind of touch and go. Normally when I see wedges like this, I pay very close attention for the break, because they typically do break to the downside. Okay, so it's kind of 50-50 for me at the moment, but I am still sitting long, and I am sort of in profit, so I will hold on to it and see what happens. These 4 hour candles, or the 4 hour breaks of the cloud are what we need. So if we can stay above the cloud on the 4 hour, then we have some potential. Just want to get back in time, you see what I mean? So break through the 4 hour cloud, and then you can see how the trend picked up quite quickly and rallied quite hard. So that's what we're waiting for. Pretty much what we're looking for, bounce off a level. It has bounced off the cloud. We've broken through the cloud now. And some people take a long here, but for me, I'm pretty cautious at this stage, because this is a rising wedge. Okay, so if you are long, hold it, keep your stops pretty close. If you're looking to get in, I would wait to see what happens, because if this breaks the downside, then we're going to get more downside. But if this holds and we start turning this into a channel, in other words, we start moving something like that, so we get up there, bounce, pull back, then there's going to be more entries to get long. Okay, so at this stage, I'm just waiting for the 4 hour to start, the 4 hour ichimoku to start turning bullish, and then we can start adding to the positions. Okay, so that's my take on cryptocurrencies for today. Hope it helps, and remember, keep those stops tight, and enjoy the day. I'll catch up with you later. Cheers, man.